There is power in a story, and we all have a story. Our stories, if told, can inspire, encourage, and motivate. Hi, I am Rhonda, and welcome to the Book of Lives. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Book of Lives. Today, we're going to be chatting with a first-time author who took on the challenge of writing his first book, and he is here today to share with us his story. Ehis, welcome.
Thank you very much, Rhonda. Very nice to be here. It's a pleasure.
Nice to have you. So, Ehis, on the Book of Lives, we're all about stories, and stories have beginnings. So tell us, where does your story begin? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
I was born in Nigeria in a little city called Ughelli. Ughelli is a suburb of Warri in the southern region of Nigeria in the oil-rich south. So I was born there, brought up, but I attended my university in the southeast in Igbo land in a city called Owerri, where I studied, surprisingly enough, chemical engineering. But today, I'm an author and looking to develop into business and other sectors of life.
Okay, so tell me, you said you're an engineer, but
Yeah.
how does writing fit into all of this? Where did that come from?
Well, I've always had this flair and passion really for words, basically. So I remember in my undergraduate days in the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, in my that was my fourth year. So we had 5 years of undergraduate studies. So on my fourth year, that's basically my sophomore year now. So I I wrote a, should I say, compendium now. I called it the Diary of a Mad Genius. So this gave me like that was my first test in the waters of writing, basically. So the reception I had from my friends, from my colleagues in school as well, from my lecturer, from families and all of that was really encouraging. They felt I was worthy enough to get more works out there. People were really interested. So especially from my online family, my Facebook community, the reception was really laudable. So I could really tell that there's something to it. Like I could tell this passion was not just something I should reserve to myself or keep behind. It was a flame and I should let it go and let it just basically consume me.
So you
So
wrote a book. You wrote a
yeah,
book. All
yeah.
right. So what is the name of the book? Tell us what's the name of the book.
Book is called Tales of Jidolfo.
Tales of Jean
Jidolfo.
Defoe.
Nah.
Joffa. I'm trying to pronounce the word. I've been practicing pronouncing this word all the time, and I got it wrong. Jodifa?
No,
Jodifa?
no,
No.
no, no. Let me say it syllable by syllable. Then that would help you. Jidolfo. Jidolfo.
Jidofa.
Yes, that's
Jidofa.
not
Jidofa.
Jidolfo.
Yes,
Yes.
Jidofa. Okay. So Tales of Jidofa. All right.
Yeah.
What tell us, what is the book about, and give me an idea of what inspired you. Where
Yeah.
did the inspiration come from?
Yeah. So Tales of Jidolfo is historical fiction, is historical romance fiction based on the transatlantic slave trade history. It's set in the 18th century at the very zenith of the transatlantic slave trade. It follows the life of the protagonist, Jidolfo. Jidolfo is an Igbo name, Igbo. So it follows the life of this character, Jidolfo, a teenage boy from his hometown of Ila down to the Caribbean, Jamaica. So it is a tale of dreams, it's a tale of destiny, it's a tale of love. This, like I said, is a romance fiction. It's also, personally for me, it's a tale of the Igbo understanding of spirituality, especially as it pertains to death and the afterlife. So if I should chip in a little something, Jidofo is also the name of my elder brother. So the book is named after my brother.
I'm sure he's happy about that.
Yeah, very much so. The reason I chosen the name because Jidofo is it's a very deep Igbo name. It's not much common today. Today it appears more as surnames as than first names.
Names. Okay,
So
gotcha.
people don't bear Jidofo as first names no more because it's quite ancient. And taking the time I was writing, in which the story is set in the 18th century, about 200 plus years ago, I felt the name was really typical of that era. To have been more common then than it is today.
What does Jidofa mean?
Therefore, literally means hold authority. Ofo in Igbo culture in that era was an insignia of power. So it usually was like a bronze staff, not quite long, maybe this big. So usually it is handed over from father to son. So it represents an emblem of position, an emblem of leadership. So my elder brother is bears Jidofo because he is the first son in the family. So he gets how the name how the name flows. So the name literally means he has been given authority, has been given power. And in the story as well, the character Jidofo is the first child of his parents. So he has been given authority. So the name is very befitting to the role he plays in the story.
I get it. I get it. So it's a historical fiction set,
Yes.
in the height of the transatlantic slave trade.
Yes.
Slavery is a very traumatic and sensitive subject. Why set your story, during such a difficult time?
One reason why, as I was saying, why I decided to bring out an entire book. I remember a post I had done in Facebook. I had made it, I believe, 2017, written a short story, basically. But I often do that back in the days on my Facebook for my Facebook family to enjoy. They were basically my inspiration to keep on writing then. So I remember I wrote a short article, a short post, maybe 1,000 words or so then, and posted it on Facebook. And it was on a character, Jidofo, taken from his home, a child, basically, a teenage lad taken from his home. So the reception I got from my Facebook family then, my friends, people shared it all over Facebook then. So I could see people were really connected with the story, the perception they had of it. Not just because I expected it to be probably maybe people of Igbo origin like myself, but that wasn't the case. Everyone was interested. Africans like myself, we are Igbo, we are very interested. People from the Caribbean like yourself, very interested. Asians, my Asian community friends, they're very interested. So I could tell Europeans I had who are my friends, very interested. I could tell this was a topic that could garner interest from a lot of different communities. People were interested in that time period in history. And personally, for me, I felt that that period in history, the transatlantic slave trade, it's layered with different opinions. It's layered with most of them personally to me, especially for the ones Africans have of that era. It's often false. It's often mired with concepts and beliefs that are not exactly true. So I wanted to shine in my own way, share my own touch to give people, because Tales of Judah gives you a window into that era at the very zenith. So people come to that era, but from a contemporary understanding of how life must have been in the 18th century for an African, how life must have been in the 18th century for a European, and how the Caribbean, especially the West Indies, where it was like a meeting point for this two separate cultures, two separate race, two people. So I wanted to shine my touch basically in that time era to see where these two great cultures have melted, a melting pot in a place like Jamaica, and the end result being Tales of Jidofo.
So I had the opportunity of, going through the book.
I got a snippet of the audio version. Thank you so much. And there are a lot of cultural elements and themes. And it's very vivid, you know. As I'm reading it, I can actually, you know, see myself in that time period. I can, you know, see what the character might be seeing, and you know, I can feel what the character is feeling. You know, it's very relatable, like you said. It's extremely relatable. I'm curious, what is the main message that you wanted to convey, you know, or you want to convey to readers? What is it? If there's one thing you want them to go away with, what is it?
Yeah. The very prologue to the book, it's a poem, I believe you know it. Row, row, row your boat gently down
Let it
the
go the
stream.
stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily,
Yes,
merrily. Life is
life
but
is
a
but a
dream.
dream. The
Yes.
book is divided into 8 parts, and the very last part, part 8, is titled Life is but a dream. So if there's any message I'd want to pass to my audience, would be this simple message, short, simple. Life is but a dream. Why? Because this is the ancient indigenous Igbo understanding of life and reality. Most of us were so pent up, so focused on life as it is today in our contemporary understanding of what we're supposed to achieve, what we're supposed to do. But for ancient Africans, then, especially for someone I know very certainly of my own community of Ila, the character Jidofo is from Ila, where I'm from, and for much of African culture in that time period in the 18th century, the understanding of life was very simple. You need not bother much. You're not here for a long time. This be a dream. At the end of it all, in death, we would wake up literally into reality. We think this is so real. We think this is so real because that is exactly how a dream feels. I know you've had a dream before. Everyone has had a dream. Is why I decided to tell a story that has many elements of dream. Because I'm someone who's really curious about psychological, should I say, topics like dreams, and not just psychological topics, spiritual topics as well. Dreams, destiny, death, and the afterlife. God, so to speak. So these are topics that people almost set, people regularly take them for granted. Everyone doesn't go about their everyday activity and think about, oh, why do we dream in the first place? Very few people,
True.
very few people do that. And the same thing with death. Very few people look forward, even though it is inevitable. Very few people look forward to what happens because eventually it will happen. So these are topics in which our ancient ancestors have, in their own way, have created an understanding through storytelling to make life less tedious. And one of the simple message they had for us, life is but a dream. So just keep that at the back of your mind when you carry out your daily activity. Don't be bothered. Don't be so stressed up because eventually you would wake up. And the things you think are so important here are not exactly as important because when you wake up, you welcome to reality. This is just a dream.
Interesting, interesting message. You know, one of the things I love about writings and literature is how you can, you know, ascertain what the writer is trying to convey. And it's often, you know, presented, you know, in such a beautiful fashion. And your book does present that concept in a very beautiful fashion, a very colorful fashion, you know, the story of Jidofa. I hope I pronounced it right.
That's
Awesome.
fine.
Good, good. What were some of the challenges you encountered and overcame, you know, as you were writing?
Okay. Tales of Judolfo is my debut novel. So I'm pretty sure when experienced authors will be reading, they'll be able to spot a little mistakes here and there. Although my editors and myself did a really wonderful, wonderful work in getting the work, personally to me, is a masterpiece. In getting it into the masterpiece that it is today. So, but since, just like I said, I'm an engineer, I don't really have the training and background to be doing this. But it is a passion for me. It's something I've always wanted to do. So I felt it would be almost irresponsible for me if I should let this story die within me because I've always wanted to tell it. So thank God it is out there, and it is now inspired me to go forward and explore this gift of writing that I seem to possess. So most of the challenges were more technical, how to actually write a story.
Mhm.
But thankfully, since I've basically been practicing on Facebook all these years, so I had that training, so to speak. Then, luckily for me, my editor is Caribbean, she's from Jamaica,
Nice.
and I'm telling a story about Jamaica. So it was really, should I say, coincidental, or what would be the right word for it? Almost serendipitous, where by divine opportunity,
Serendipitous. Yes.
yeah, yes, by divine opportunity, I'm telling a story with someone who's from there, because the story is almost even though it is 8 parts, you can almost draw a line into two. But the transatlantic slave trade, you could almost draw a line into two. There'll be a time you're in Africa, one part takes part in Africa, the other part takes part.
In the
Those
Caribbean.
are, yeah, in the Caribbean. Yeah, exactly. So having someone from the Caribbean to help me, to guide me in storytelling. Like there are some sections of the story for part 6, part 7, part 8. Here, for example, I have to write in Jamaican patois. Even though Jamaican patois is in some ways related to Nigerian, our own Nigerian Creole, but having someone who's Jamaican edit the book, that helps, right? So those are the challenges I had, most of them being technical. If not for the inspiration, it had always been there. It had been there since the Facebook post of 2017. I decided to put pen to paper in 2020 during the COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone had a lot of free time. So now we are here.
Where can individuals find a copy of your book?
Yep. Tales of the Dolphin can be found basically anywhere people get their books, from Amazon, from Barnes and Noble, even from eBay, basically everywhere you go to get books. Soon enough, it has been in the work for a while now. We've been working on the audiobook, and you've heard the little snippet of it. Soon enough, the larger world will be able to grace that it's being read by someone very special, and I believe the audience would appreciate the book in that form. And ultimately, for me, I would want to see it not just in an audio production, or something even more like a movie or something of that nature, a visual representation of the storytelling.
Lovely. What advice do you have for someone who is currently perhaps taking on the project of writing a book or is taking on somewhat a challenging personal project? What advice would you give to them?
Well, one of the messages would be one, which I've just said was a simple sentence that the summary of the message of Tales of Jidoko. Life is but a dream. So don't be as bothered as you think you should be.
Don't be too
That,
troubled. Take it
yeah,
easy.
yes, that would be my very first message. Number two, follow your heart, follow your dreams. They already know the way. That's another lesson readers would pick up from reading the story. Your heart already knows the way. There's already a blueprint, because the Igbo understanding of life was this belief in reincarnation. So reincarnation was the belief that we come into life in cycles. We've been here before and we'll be here after. So life seems so difficult, but you have training from the past. So calm down. You do know where you are headed. The things that call to you are not as random as you may think. The people you meet on your journey in this world are not as random as you may think. There is a method to the madness, so to speak. So just follow your heart, follow your dreams. They are very valid. They are steering you in the right direction. And definitely, you will need to, us Nigerians would say, you have to go through the tests to get the testimonies. So nothing of value comes for free. Maybe offered on a platter. Nah. Unfortunately, I wonder why, but life doesn't work that way. There has to be tests so you could have testimony. They say, without the cross, there's no crown. So if you have this dream of writing, just follow it up. Thankfully, being an author now has opened the window for me to meet other authors and different sort of readers. And it would surprise you people who write. Basically, I've met authors who are 11, 12, basically children. They're not even teenagers yet, and they have books out there. So they felt this desire, this passion, which probably, if you're out there, you're feeling now, and they let it pull them and that stir them. Now they have a book out there. I've met authors who are in their 80s, who are still getting works out there, who still have a message for us to hear. So just basically follow your heart. Is not as difficult as you may think it is. I'm an engineer. I had no idea what I was doing. But I did it. I created like a routine for myself because I believe personally to me what separates the achievers from the non-achievers is something very simple and tricky in some way. The desire to do it. Discipline, basically. So it's being able to tell yourself, sit down here, sit in front of the screen, and just give me 4 lines of sentence before you go to sleep. That's what I did for almost like a year. And it's very surprising that there's a saying, little by little, a little becomes a lot.
Yes. Yeah, we got any say one dot here, Bill Dam.
So the mighty ocean you see is made up of little drops.
Yes.
Every day you just need a little drop.
Yes.
In my own, because I was brought up Christian, brought up Catholic. There are certain portions of the Bible that refer to ants. Sometimes being born in a tropical place like Nigeria, you go into the forest and you see giant ant hills that almost have story buildings basically, and you would wonder, ants made this a grain at a time, 1 grain of sand, of mud at a time.
That's great advice. Excellent advice. I love the one that says follow your dreams. So I'm going to ask you before I end the interview, can you say that in your native language? Follow your dreams. How do you say that in Igbo?
Unfortunately, I don't even know. Okay, dreams in Igbo is lonlo. Lonlo.
I wouldn't even try to repeat it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to attempt.
Lonlo literally translates, if I should translate it, will be what happens in sleep. Because the funny thing with African language is why when I happen to meet people, they're often surprised how dramatic African languages often are just by listening to it. It's almost often poetic. So one reason why I believe, from my understanding and the research I've done for Tales of Judah, for getting to look back into the history of several of our cultures, many of our African languages are very descriptive. So what I just said now, lo means what happens in sleep. Nlo is sleep. So if literally you follow your dreams, will be solu nlo. Solu nlo mean follow your dreams.
And on that note, we'll end. Thank you so much, Ehis. I appreciate you sharing your journey with us. It's nice having you. Hope that you do well in all your future endeavors. All right. I hope your book is a success. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are watching, thank you. And until next time, stay inspired.